look, Tucker, that's why I'm sitting here, you know?
Right.
I mean, because we had a contentious dialogue.
Well, I
for a
thought you
long
were
time.
a Fed. I
thought you were a Fed.
I was a Fed.
Yeah.
I'm not a Fed. But whatever, I don't care what people think.
We showed each other a badge as we know well.
No, but I thought you were a Fed because I was like, why not? It's not cucking to say you're not talking about all Jews when you oppose a foreign policy position. It's not. There's nothing liberal about that. It's just true. That's the Christian position, okay? And two, why are you attacking like the best people and not the worst people?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, he disavowed me for my views on Israel and said I talk too much about white people and Christianity. And to me, that's like a sincere ideological disagreement.
I get it.
And, you know, same thing with Marjorie. Marjorie fired my guy. She disavowed me. And, you know, and you worked with Blumenthal on that article, but you called me on the phone and we talked.
Yeah. I mean, I was
it.
like, what? From my perspective, I mean, this is all so stupid and inside baseball and whatever, but for the record, I was like, first of all, who is this kid? I'm working at Fox News. I'm aware there's an internet, but I'm more out of it than you may appreciate. And I'm like, out of nowhere, attacking this one. I had Joe Kent here to my house and did this interview with him. And I'm always in search of a sincere politician. Don't have to agree on everything, but I really believe sincerity is the whole game. If someone's heart is pure, he will be brave. I always have thought that. And it's turned out to be true. Marjorie's a perfect example. And that's all that matters. If you're afraid inside, if you're weak inside, you will crumble when it matters. So I really felt like, wow, Joe, don't agree with him on everything, of course, but I was like, this guy is really sincere. He's like a good person. And then you show up and you're like, he's a CIA officer and he was a CIA contractor, but like really like crush the guy. And it's like, why of all people, you agree on 90% of stuff, you know? That was my view. And I was like, well, clearly this kid's a Fed.
Right. But you didn't know the whole story.
I didn't. Oh, you're absolutely right.
And look, and now that, and I want to be, I'm not trying to be combative. I think that.
Go ahead. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
I mean, here's what I'm trying to say is now that Marjorie is pushing in the right direction, I absolutely support everything she's saying. And I've not been critical of her at all this year.
Yeah.
Because I think that what she's doing is extremely courageous. And I think you're right. She is sincere.
So it sounds like you're, not to put words in your mouth, but your life experience has left you so stung by the Republican establishment. You don't trust anybody, it sounds like.
Well, no, I mean, these people attacked me when the rules were different, and now they got better, and now I'm good with them. I mean,
and there's nothing wrong with that, right? The first thing, there's nothing wrong with not trusting anyone. That's actually kind of good. You shouldn't trust anyone, if you ask me. Secondly, people's opinions can change. So first you can disagree with someone and later you can agree with someone. That's normal. We're all humans, right? So it's not weird that your visions or your opinions can change about someone. You would be like very dumb if you don't like someone forever because they said something 5 years ago what you didn't like, because some people, they can change. We're all humans, and I think like it's very good that Nick literally agrees on this, that he says, yeah, but 5 months ago I agreed with her, or I disagreed with her, excuse me, and now I agree with her. So that's how adults should think. So very good, Nick, and let's see what I have to say more.
I mean, I'm willing to be good with them, but I think that I don't know if Marjorie still has a problem with me or not.
I don't know. I do know, though, and this is the last criticism I will level, and it's maybe not even your fault, but I do know that, the coordinated attacks against totally reasonable questions about what's in America's interest and what's not, those are all coordinated by the Israeli government. It's all come to light now. And they're against me. I've always thought I have the world's most moderate position on Israel. Don't hate Israel. Just don't want to get involved in their wars, don't want to pay for this, don't want to pay for abortion on demand in a foreign country, sorry. When we're cutting food stamps on our own, like, that's outrageous. It's not America first. That's my view. I'm not embarrassed of it at all. They are totally determined to take me out, I think because I'm reasonable. Who would disagree with that? And call me all these names, the most dangerous anti-Semite, when I'm not even an anti-Semite. And they're not doing that to you. Because, this is my view, and this is not necessarily your fault, but because they're like, Fuentes discredits the reasonable people because he's always banging on about the Jews. And so he makes everyone else look like a Nazi. And so it's like he's playing a pretty valuable role in the same way that Israel has always funded extremism throughout the Middle East, including Hamas, because it discredits the reasonable people. That's a fact.
Yeah. I would just say I disagree. I mean, because you said the other day, they like me. I don't know what you're talking about when you say that, because
I don't know.
Let me just kind of rebut that.
Well, by the way, I'm not saying you have anything to do with this. I'm just saying I've noticed the phenomenon.
Totally. And I just reject that because they have been messing with me for my entire adult life. I mean, the ADL got me banned on YouTube. The SPLC posted my house on their website.
What do you mean posted your house?
They posted a photo of my house on their website.
How can they do that?
I guess that's a free speech thing.
The SPLC posted a picture of your house on their website?
Yes.
When?
In 2022.
Actually?
That's insane, right? And that's kind of threatening, or that is literally a threat if you ask me. And again, also Nick was put on a no-fly list. He got debanked. He was kicked out of all his banks. It's kind of weird, and it's kind of scary that if you criticize a group of people in the USA or almost in everywhere in the world, a certain group, that you are getting like censored, you're getting your money taken away from you, you're literally getting like threatened with violence. Isn't that kind of scary that it only happens with certain groups? Because other groups, you can say whatever you want about this and there's no problem. But at certain groups, it can literally cost you your life. Charlie Kirk. And again, this is just my opinion, and I hope you probably get the point. But I'm getting tired of this double standard. People should like openly talk about almost everyone. People can criticize me, and I can criticize other people, and that's fine, right? I'm not a hypocrite. So if I can say everything or everything I want about other people, they should also be allowed to say everything what they want about me. But again, this is just how I think. I hope more people agree with me.
Yes, they wrote an article. They said Nick Fuentes bought a building in this city, and they said we interviewed his neighbors and property records reveal this and that. And on the front page, the picture for the article is my house where I live.
That's crazy. And then someone showed up with a gun and tried to kill you at that house?
Yes. So that's why I say, you say, well, they're not doing this to you. It's like the ZOA, the SPLC, the ADL, the Daily Wire. All these groups have been on me for years. So that's news to me if they're really endorsing my activities.
It could just be my perception. But I guess what I'm saying is, as someone who thinks his own views are like completely reasonable, pass every smell test, you could x-ray my soul. I don't think there's a lot of hate in there. And to the extent that they do make me feel hateful, the people who attack me, I do like say prayers about it. We're not allowed to hate people, as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's like our core prayer. So I just feel like it's I don't know. Am I being paranoid? I feel like going on about the Jews like helps the neocons. That's
what about my views do you think are unreasonable if yours are reasonable?
I think, again, I don't think it's cucky. I think it's reality to say that guilt is not inherited. Blood guilt is bad. One of the reasons that I'm mad about Gaza is because the Israeli position is everyone who lives in Gaza is a terrorist because of how they were born, including the women and the children. That's not a Western view. That's an Eastern view. That's a non-Christian, that's totally incompatible with Christianity and Western civilization. They say, we're the defenders of Western civilization. Not with that attitude. You're not. Collective punishment is the enemy of Western civilization.
Yeah.
And so I hate that attitude. It's genocidal. The current claims that I'm a cancer, from Ben Shapiro or whatever, we need to be excised from the body of conservatism, is a genocidal position that it basically encourages violence, as they well know. The whole thing I hate. So like anytime you say a whole group of people is responsible for the sins of some of its members, like I'm out.
Yeah, but that's not my view.
It's not. Okay. So tell me your views. Like rather than, you're one of those people, one of the reasons I wanted to meet you is you're one of those people who is defined by clips.
Yes.
And I'm one of those people also.
Yes.
Right? So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe.
Yeah.
Finally.
Well, and listen, I mean, and I appreciate you saying that because that's just the reality of the media environment we're in. So I don't expect you to know all my views, but I mean, as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said, you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all those things that you talk about from Jewishness, ethnicity, religion, identity. And let me give you like a perfect example. So you say on your show that we need to treat Israel like any other country. And I sort of understand that in principle because Israel is another foreign country.
Yeah.
But Israel is unlike every other country in the sense that because the Jewish people are in a diaspora all over the world, there are significant numbers of Jews in Europe, but also in the United States. And because of their unique heritage and story, which is that they're a stateless people, they're unassimilable, they resist assimilation for thousands of years. And I think that's a good thing. And now they have this territory in Israel. There's a deep religious affection for the state. It's bound up in their identity, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, the promise of the land, all these things. So let's say in the United States, for example, somebody like a Sheldon Adelson, he's not Israeli. Is he an ideological neocon? Does he believe in the promise of democratic globalism? I don't think necessarily. His heart is in Israel. And it's because he is a proud Jewish person. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you are a Jewish person in America, you're sort of, and again, it's not because they're born, but it's sort of a rational self-interest politically to say, I'm a minority. I'm a religious ethnic minority. This is not really my home. My ancestral home is in Israel. There's like a natural affinity that Jews have for Israel. And I would say on top of that, for the international Jewish community. They're extremely organized. And many of them are critical of Israel or Israel's current government or the project of Israel. But I guess what they have in common, unlike, let's say, like Singapore, for example, is that they have this international community across borders, extremely organized, that is putting the interests of themselves before the interests of their home country. And there's no other country that has a similar arrangement like that. No other country has a strong identity like that, this religious blood and soil conviction, this history of being in the diaspora, stateless, wandering, persecuted, and in particular, the historic animosity between the Jewish people and the Europeans.
And again, always I ask myself, where is the loyalty of these people? Are they more loyal to the USA or to the country they live in now where they are born? Or are they more loyal to, for example, or not for example, or are they more loyal to Israel? Because of course, you can hear this. My English is not perfect. I know this. I'm a legal migrant and I say this in all my videos. I am not a real American. But I'm loyal to the USA. I would give everything I have to the USA. I will die for the USA. My children, I will let my children raise here in the USA. I pay tax to the USA, and I will give everything I have to the USA because I love this country and I'm loyal to this country, even though I am not from here originally. The question is, with many people where Nick is talking about, let's keep it like this, I always ask myself, where is their loyalty? Because I feel like they wouldn't die for the USA. I feel like they wouldn't give everything they have to the USA, but they will do this with Israel. You could literally see this with the war in Gaza. So many Americans left to go fight in Israel against Hamas. And of course, like people can, you can say whatever you want about this. At some point, I can understand it if their country is getting attacked that they do this. But the question is, or the most important question is, to what country are they loyal? Because if shit really hits the fan, for what country would they choose? For Israel or for the United States? Because I am from Western Europe, but I will choose for the USA because this country gave me everything and I will give everything back to this country. And I feel like I'm a little bit different compared to those people because they will literally, no matter where they choose for, they will always choose for Israel. But again, correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to debate me.
They hate the Romans because the Romans destroyed the temple. That's why Eric Weinstein goes to the Arch of Titus and gives it the finger and takes a picture. We don't think like that as Americans and white people. We don't think about the Roman Empire in 2,000 years ago. They do. And so I guess that's really, and I don't think that's me saying the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. I don't think that's me being hateful. I don't think that's me being collectivist. I think that's understanding that identity politics, whether you love it or hate it, whatever you feel about it, it's a reality that we live in a world of Jews and Christians, of whites and blacks. These identities mean something to us and they mean things to each other, and we can't sort of wish them away. And it feels like white people and Christians are the only ones that do that.
There's no question about that, your last point, for sure. One of the reasons they do that is because they've been taught to hate themselves, of course, since the Second World War. Another reason is, however, the reality of a multi-ethnic country requires you to sort of set aside community or group interests in favor of corporate interests, universal interests, national interests. And you have to do that or else it doesn't work. And so, I agree those attitudes, I mean, certainly in other parts of the world, people think this way, but you can't have that here. And so it's just important to remind everybody that, things may be generally true, but like, again, they're not always true. And there are people who just strongly disagree. And by the way, in the specific case of Israel, there are a ton of Orthodox who I know who are opposed to the state of Israel. They're more Jewish than Dave Rubin, a lot more. And yet they oppose it. Jeff Sachs is like the most wonderful man, who's Jewish, the most articulate kind of critic of the state of Israel that I'm aware of. So, like, I don't know, that's just meaningful.
And Tucker makes a very good point here, because as well, I am not a hypocrite, and you also have to say, not everyone thinks like this. Of course, you have like a big group who supports this or who thinks like this, but that doesn't mean that everyone thinks like this, because if you literally hate almost everyone because a certain group does this, then you're also a little bit crazy, in my opinion. You can criticize people, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't blame everyone, for example, every Israeli, because of what is Israel doing. There's many people who also disagree with what the Israeli government is doing and what some Jewish people are doing. So I feel like you cannot like have hate towards like everyone, then you always use your own brain. That's the only thing I want to say, because I feel like I'm walking on eggshells a little bit, if you understand what I mean. But the point I'm trying to make, and that's very good, is you should always think about this yourself. Don't just hate people or groups of people because someone said this or a government does this. That's completely insane.
You can't, if everything is inherited, then there's no hope for the continuation of America. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think it's genetically inherited. And what you're saying about putting aside the tribal interest for the corporate interest, yes, that's absolutely the case. And that's the only way the country's going to stay together.
Exactly.
And
that's my concern.
And I absolutely agree with you. I would say, though, that the main challenge to that, a big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America. I don't think Bill Ackman is capable of that. I don't think Sheldon Adelson is capable of that. I don't think Yoram Hazony is capable of that, for that matter. And many other, on the right and the left. And I see Jewishness as the common denominator. And you're right, it's not all Jewish people feel the same way. No one would say that, but that does seem to be the common denominator. And I just feel like it needs to be called out explicitly. And I like what you said the other day. If you're serving in another country's military or have dual citizenship, you really can't be a part of this project.
Well, that's an easy one, but I am much more comfortable as a Christian and an American keeping it on that level, because, it's easy to just set universal rules that apply to everyone, not just the Jews or the Christians or the anybody, just like Americans can only serve in the U.S. military, mm-hmm, or they lose their passport. I mean, I don't know. That's not hard. And I don't know. Why not just say that?
Say what?
That. Why not make every statement about how Americans ought to behave applicable to all Americans? Like, it's the defense of universal values that will hold the country together, and the emphasis on parochial group values that will break it apart inevitably.
Because this is a particular issue and it's acute. Like I said, I think they are unique in that way. I think that's a unique issue, especially in the Republican Party, especially in the conservative scene. So how would you like this all to be resolved? What I would like is for the U.S. government to not be influenced by these kinds of foreign allegiances, not with money that comes from, American citizens like Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering APAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I think 80% of the public agrees with those things.
So
that's kind of what gets me a little bit annoyed. It's like these are like America First, the concept. It's the most popular, self-evidently true idea you could have.
Yeah, everyone agrees with them. I agree with Nick and Tucker on this one as well. But the point is, I think we are too far. It's like too hard to like, there's too much foreign influence coming into our country. There's like too much foreign money coming into our country. And there's too much donors from like foreign countries who are sponsoring. Even with Turning Point USA, for example, take a look at who the biggest donors are from Turning Point USA. And it says enough. There's so many people like with influence in our country where we don't even have an idea about. So it's good that they talk about this. And again, I also agree with Tucker on you cannot say that all Americans agree or disagree with it. You cannot say that all Israelis agree or disagree with the government. Of course, it's like certain people, they have different kinds of opinion. But it is, in my opinion, it is a fact that it's too hard to like turn this the other way around because there's so much influence coming into our country from like people we should be careful about. Let's keep it like this. And yeah, I'm very curious about how you think about this.
Like, don't let foreign powers, especially tiny ones far away, control your country. Like, of course not. Everyone agrees with that on both sides.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to let that idea get subverted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we agree on that.
But it's subverted when they're like, that's hate. No, that's hate. It's not hate.
Yeah. Well, and you know, here's what I will say. I think that there is increasingly a contingent, because what you're talking about exists. When you say that there are people that legitimately detract from this, there is legitimate racial hatred out there.
Big time.
And it's growing. And
I know.
People on our side are afraid to talk about it because they know, like you said, they're going to get called a cuck or a squish or whatever. And I agree with you. The people that are detracting from that need to be called out. And I think there should be no harbor for cruelty, hatred, prejudice, those kinds of things.
And some of them, I'm sorry to be a conspiracy nut. I really try not to be a conspiracy because it's embarrassing, you know? But after January 6th and just finding out the number of FBI personnel in the crowd.
All right, I'm so happy that Tucker and Nick did this interview because I feel like this is a very important interview. They talk about many specific points, what is very important and where more people should talk about. And that's why I'm happy that Tucker and Nick, with both a very big audience, they talked about this so more people start to know about this. And I'm very curious about how you think about this. Like, do you agree with Tucker? Please share your opinion in the comments. Very important to say, I read all comments, so please share your opinion. I'm very curious. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And last but not least, guys, I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!